Welcome again, everybody, to Cute for Teams, Champions Using Teams Effectively. Got Ricardo, got Nash. Stacy will be joining us soon. And we're here for you. It's office hours. Hopefully you came with some questions. Put them in chat or come off mute and get to talking. But yeah, that's what we're here for. And glad to see you. Anybody want to kick us off? Just jump right into it. Anybody come with a burning question, issue, thing like that?
Well, I have a question about Teams meetings. We're just wondering if, you have the organizer. Does the organizer need to join the meeting? Can it continue without them? And if the organizer isn't on, can they still go and get the attendance list?
I know, Nash, if you want to take that.
Yeah. Sure. So there may be some differences that your organization has put in place, but the default behavior is someone internal to your organization must be on the call before the meeting will actually start.
Okay.
So if you've got only the organizer is internal to your org and like 10 people who are from outside of your org, even if you turn the lobby off and all of that, by default, the meeting won't start until someone joins from internal. Now that default can be changed by an administrator for the policy that applies to meeting organizers. But the other part of that is the organizer doesn't even have to show. Everyone else would be able, any other internal person joining would kick off and start spinning up the meeting. And so if there's only a couple remote folks, it's probably not an issue. And not remote, a couple external folks, it's not an issue. Mm-hmm. And then I think the final piece there, the meeting organizer is the only one who can download the meeting attendance list. Before 2 weeks ago, the only way to download the attendance list in a government community cloud environment was in the meeting experience. So the organizer would have to join the meeting and download the list. Mm-hmm. That's a recent change, though, that I'm pretty sure it was just 2 weeks ago. The ability to download the attendee report after the fact came. And the meeting organizer then never needs to join. They'll still, even if they never joined the meeting, they will see it today in line with the meeting chat, similar to how you would see like the meeting recording. They see a little tile there for to download the attendee report. And in the nearish future, that experience will get even better, where there'll just be, for the meeting organizer, a tab up at the top that says attendance or attendees or something like that.
Okay.
So it isn't.
And the organizer will always have access to the chat, even if it's been set up so that the attendees only have a temporary access.
Yes. The organizer is an internal person and a named invitee since they created it. So yes, they do always by default have access to the chat.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Those were great questions. You hit like all of the little caveats that could come up on this.
So I like that question too, from the perspective to point out, if your meetings are all about meetings with your coworkers internal, I think what we just described is, people can fire up meetings with other internal folks and not have to be there, right? That internally, everybody's got the power to get that meeting started. It's really, the impact really kicks in if there are external folks trying to join, right? Mm-hmm. So that's key. Also pointing out, because I don't know if your tenant is commercial or not, but this CoOrganizer concept. So, even if there was some dependency on the organizer, the ability coming for everyone really at some point to have co-organizers is going to be key there as well. But from what you described, I like that you brought that up, because I see that happen a lot, where people feel like as the meeting creator, they have some strong responsibility to have to go kick it off, and depending on the situation, not necessarily. So it's a great case.
Yeah. Co-organizer as a feature I don't even think it's finished rolling out to commercial yet, but it is slated to do a fast rollout to GCC. So the idea is it hits commercial and then immediately starts rolling out to the Gov Community Cloud. The public roadmap still says December, and they haven't updated this post since before Thanksgiving. Since it's not done rolling out to commercial yet, and we're about to hit our holiday change freeze, we're not going to see this before January in GovCloud. I'll be shocked if we got it before then. But it is coming. It's coming soon, and that hopefully will help get around. Hey, person A organized the meeting, and they were supposed to be there, and now they can't be there. Rather than having to cancel the meeting and create a new one for somebody else to be able to change meeting options and all that, or relying on somebody doing something while they're out sick for the day. Yeah, have them set up co-organizers so that more than one person can do meeting options, can get to the attendee report.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I just like the concept that we get that a co-organizer is needed, right? Whether it's the meeting, whether it's breakout rooms, you need more than that one person that the responsibility all falls on. So at least we're getting there. We're going down that path now and not acting like it's real easy to, especially as these meetings get big, you just don't want that all on one person.
Yep.
And then what happens when the squirrel chews through that person's internet cable, right? So yeah, good stuff.
We just did a big meeting for all of the graduates of the state of Minnesota's leadership development programs. It was like their alumni meeting. And yeah, there were like 280 people on there, and we had like 3 different times where we were going to use breakout rooms. And the amount of planning that went into making sure that the one person could manage the breakout rooms and then rebalance the breakout rooms, because it's like a 4-hour long thing. We're not going to get everybody the whole time. It took a lot of planning to be able to pull that off successfully. We were able to do it, but man, would it have been a lot easier if she could have had multiple co-organizers. And this was right before even the ability to delegate breakout rooms came. So we do have the ability today in the meeting experience to delegate breakout room management. What we don't have is the ability to manage breakout rooms for those other people before the meeting starts. We want that, it's coming, but it's an iterative process. I have to remind myself and everybody else that when we first light up these features, they do go through the minimum lovable product. Like, what does it have to do? What are these things? What are the things that if we don't do, it's going to be so much pain that nobody can really use it? Like, that's what gets shipped in V1, and then we run into the things that they couldn't get in there that would be really nice, but that 20% of the people really need, but weren't needed by all. And that's where we're at for the breakout room pieces. We've done version 1 and version 1.1 and 1.2 now. The before meeting creation and management piece is going to be that nice 2.0 that meets 95% of people's needs versus 80.
So in the chat, Michelle has a question that I think is an interesting one. And if I paraphrase it, basically, can a meeting a Teams meeting, be forwarded in Outlook? I'm paraphrasing, without copying everyone if I'm not the organizer or presenter. So the reason I think this is interesting is because what is the dependency or tight coupling between Outlook and Teams, right? Sometimes I think it's not as tightly coupled as we think. In the many cases, that Outlook meeting invite is just a carrier for a Teams link, right? It doesn't have the power in and of itself as an Outlook meeting invite. It's just the way you're giving the link to people. So in this case, I think this is more of an Outlook question. As Nash is responding, I think, is that what do you agree that's more of an Outlook thing in terms of can I quote something? Yeah,
Teams doesn't give you that option of do you want to notify everybody or just the changed attendees like Outlook does. So if that's the situation where you want to do it, flip over to Outlook. If you go to edit the invitation and add somebody to it, it's going to say, do you want the updated invitation to go to everybody or just the added and removed attendees? And it kind of gets back to the idea that The calendar in Teams, number one, is just a reflection of your personal calendar in Outlook. And number two is not designed to replace every single feature function of Outlook, which has been around since 1994. There are a lot of features in Outlook. Really, the things we see inside of Teams make it easy for you to not have to go from Teams to Outlook to join a Teams meeting. Right? That was the number one driver for putting it in there. And then similarly, hey, the way that we create a meeting in Outlook, can we cover 95% of the scenarios in Teams so people don't have to pop out to Outlook? Yes. If you're somebody who lives and dies inside of Outlook every day for your calendaring needs, are you going to be able to do all of that in Teams? No, you're still going to probably be in Outlook most of the time.
Also, if you're like a delegation,
92.
yeah, if you're a delegation, like for another person, right? You're a delegate. You're managing someone else's calendar. Teams isn't gonna give you what you need there probably either. You're probably still gonna have to live in Outlook for, that kind of calendar management. So yeah, I usually point that out because while we got that big calendar button and it looks like, oh, I've got a version of Outlook in Teams here. It is a far cry from Outlook is still the premium experience for calendar and email management.
And will be for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good to know because I'm really, really trying to use Teams for communications and we're getting better at it, my whole group. So that's a bonus. But yes, for the calendar, if I know that's where I should go to Outlook, I will.
Yeah.
I mean, I sent it to the entire labor and industry.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I think in your particular case, this just as you just mentioned, this must be a large audience. But the reason again why I was interested in the question is because the way you might do things change if this was like a channel meeting. So now notifying people about the meeting or adding, quote unquote, adding new people to the meeting has a different feel, right? Because everybody in that team can, sees the meeting, can be notified. Adding is not really a concept of adding someone to the meeting other than maybe adding them to the team or just, letting them know where the meeting is, right? So that whole who's an invited attendee starts to get a little, gray, I guess.
Right. That's the beauty of that. And that's the beauty of Teams. We've put together a number of committees recently. And so we all know when somebody got what they were supposed to get or, put this on the board, and we're chatting more often too now since we're remote. So I'll just know to use Outlook from now on for forwards.
Well, Michelle, all that being said, I think this is a really good, valid use case for them to bring that feature into Teams because you aren't the only one who's run into that. I've run into it. Ricardo's run into that where it's like, oh, shoot, I should have flipped over to Outlook. Maybe you shouldn't have to, right? They hit that 80% of functionality that most people need and they're looking for the next thing. I think this would be really nice. Like the thing that I miss the most is calendar coloring inside of GCC, the categories. That's coming. So I've got that today on the internal tenant, but I don't know when it's coming out to all of you. It's not yet got a public roadmap date or even an internal roadmap date. But like the second that showed up, it's like, oh, thanks. That's what I needed. I get why it wasn't there at the beginning, but I use that all the time. I get that most people don't do the color coding. But I will miss the important things if they're not color coded. This is a great feature.
Is wonderful about since we're all over the map and we're teleworking, if you have an event that that is going to take away from your normal day, she takes it on her calendar. So, we're populating her calendar and it's really nice because then you don't have to do anything else. Oh, I know where they are. That's all that happens. So yeah, when they can get this into Teams that way, that would be really nice. Thank
Michelle,
you both.
Our pleasure. The way they pick and choose these features that they're going to do next is partially a, hey, what's our strategy? But it's also largely driven by metrics on feedback. So if this is the thing where lots of, where our strategy thought maybe this isn't that important, and yet we look at the feedback we get from lots and lots and lots of customers, that ends up trumping the strategy piece oftentimes. In fact, our software development teams do get paid, like part of their incentive compensation is how well they respond to feedback, like how many votes on feedback portal or user voice do they return because they shipped a feature. I will throw out that the new thing that replaced user voice has some issues for GCC customers, for government customers today. I'm going to throw the link in chat. However, if you want to sign in to vote, you can't use your organizational identity. So your normal work email address. You'd have to use a personal Microsoft account to sign in today. I don't know when they're going to unblock the GCC identities. They plan to, but I haven't been able to get that data out of the engineering team. So this is the place where we would go and say, hey, the ability to only update certain the added and removed attendees would be really nice to have in Outlook. My guess is it's already a feedback item. Calendar, updates, notify. I'm going to quick hit search. Well, I didn't find it in my first little search, but I'll look again. If I find one existing feedback item, I'll throw that specifically in chat for people to upvote. Just you can't use your work identity. You have to use a personal one. So. Perfect.
I'll get everybody to vote for it. Thank you very much. I don't want to take any more of anybody's time, and you guys have a really nice holiday.
Too. Thanks, Michelle. Well, we're gonna use that last comment from Michelle as another piece there. You can game the system. If you and 40 of your closest friends go and vote on a new feedback item in a week, it will show up as a hot item, and it will probably be reviewed in the weekly engineering feature team scrum where they look at the feedback. You'll see Ricardo, Stacy, and I do this, where we'll be out on Twitter and LinkedIn being like, hey, can you guys upvote this one for us? But play the game. I'm telling you the rules. The more votes in a shorter period of time, the higher the algorithm puts it on the list. The better you do explaining the problem you're trying to solve versus the solution you want to see, the more likely it is that they will go and do something about it. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, don't say it needs to do this. Say, hey, this is the problem that we run into, and maybe this is the solution. But if you start with just the solution without explaining the problem, oftentimes the engineers looking at it can't necessarily empathize or sympathize with what you're going through, because maybe that doesn't happen to them because they don't schedule lots of meetings with an entire department. So explain the problem versus just the solution in there. Now you know the game. We can play it all together.
While you guys are talking, I saw the chat about the breakout room co-organizers. So I was kind of showing that while you were talking, but just to kind of show it again, this breakout rooms piece here and the little gearbox is where that magic happens. So since I've got 2 named attendees in this meeting, then they will show up in that drop down. So that's kind of where you saw me fumbling through, is I had to get those people, as attendees there, but now I can make Bob a co-manager of the breakout rooms, and and that gets it done.
And I want to just highlight, this isn't co-organizers. That's a different feature that's coming, was supposed to come in December, but more likely January. This is the ability to assign presenters. This is the ability for the organizer to assign presenters to help manage breakout rooms, which is there today in the GovCloud. This feature is shipped like a month ago. If you hadn't noticed it, it's
managers is a better word, right? Co-managers,
yep.
Manager, yeah. I wish, I don't know if you saw, Nash, how I kind of got here. I wish there was maybe a better way to just get to this pane with one click. I don't think so, because I ended up, so once I start that manual process, this button is bringing me there all the time. But if you noticed, I started by going to the main screen, manual, you know, and then it got me here. So, but it's nice that once you kind of get in here now, this is the spot for adding new rooms and assigning participants and all that good stuff. So it's a nice little pane there, but pane, P-A-N-E, not P-A-I-N. So there are
I'll look for the support doc.
okay. Documentation, yeah. Awesome. All right, so yeah, breakout rooms is always the hot topic.
Lots of change here, so the questions are totally expected. Appoint breakout room managers. That seems like it's poorly titled, but here's the link.
We're putting
now
in chat.
Part of the experience that they have under appoint managers during the meeting is what we have today inside of GCC. The ability to appoint managers before the meeting is broken. So the whole breakout room tab thing ahead of, outside of the meeting experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, but that still doesn't work yet, right?
Tab.
Yep. Breakout room tab.
Yeah. For government for sure. I can't remember if it's in commercial yet, but yeah.
It's one of those things where certain features haven't rolled out yet. This one's rolled out but is not working. So it's a support issue versus a rollout issue. So we'll get there. Like I said, a lot of change and a lot to keep track of for breakout rooms as we keep trying to fast iterate through this stuff.
Anything else going on out there in Teams land?
These were great questions today. Like I'm always so shocked. Like every time I get on here, I'm like, Ricardo, what are we going to talk about if people don't ask questions?
Yeah.
He's like, they'll ask questions, Natch.
One thing that makes me sad, you guys don't have a lot of questions about files and SharePoint. And I've been a long time SharePoint geek, and so that's when I really, if you ask a question about that, you'll have to stop me from talking. So I like SharePoint, but I also like how Teams and SharePoint work together for file management. I get though that many people, there's levels to your Teams adoption, right? Many times it just starts with I'm using it to join meetings, and that it's great. And then I'm using it to chat, one-to-one and group chats. That often is the next level. And then we get to that level. I'm using it for collaboration. Now I am in a team. I'm using channels. We're chatting there instead of email. That's great. And then at some point we get to the point and realize I could do a lot of file collaboration with my team as well with this nice little files button that's in every channel, opening docs right within the Teams, and all of a sudden I can do all this file stuff and never have to leave Teams. And so I get, it's an iteration. Some people start there at the full collaboration. Some start at meetings and chat. So I get it, but I do think it's a good experience, especially when we are actually putting more innovation into even the sharing piece, right? So the documents you're using in the Teams, knowing that all the team members can collaborate on it, they've already got access is great. But then even as I want to share outside of the team, you've got sharing features, through OneDrive and SharePoint that make that easy as well. So, and then not to mention guest collaboration from people outside your org that can come in securely and work as well. So just know, if you ever have files questions, I will more than welcome that. I welcome all the questions, but I'm a big SharePoint geek. So yeah, so I see in the chat, you'd love to hear some tips on file sharing and SharePoint and Teams. We can bring that up as a future topic. I actually, in addition to this, I also do a little, I call it Coffee with the Cowbell. Saturday mornings, 11:30 Eastern, a stream there, and that was actually going to be my topic for tomorrow, is working with files and teams. But yeah, maybe on a future Qt session here, we can talk about files there as well. Using the previous version of SharePoint, just starting to roll out SharePoint 365. Okay, yeah, a lot of things light up, and a lot of scenarios light up when you go SharePoint Online versus SharePoint, server on premises, especially with Teams. So that's exciting that your org is moving that way.
I just want to say I really love that when an org has Teams fully rolled out, and then eventually goes back to do the project to migrate off their on-prem SharePoint, and they're like, half these sites, the business area self-migrated months ago. There's no files left here anymore. They already copied and pasted them over to their team. That's happened to me twice now, where they're like, yeah, we've got 1,500 sites to migrate. And then they go to start doing them, and just one after another. It's like, yeah, no, they switched them to read-only, or they just literally moved them self-migrated months ago without any IT support on it. Once people start seeing some of the benefits, especially if they're on really old versions of SharePoint, like bloop, my file moved over, and all of this magic just started happening.
And one thing that really changed the game, and even as a SharePoint geek, I was not offended by it, but SharePoint takes a back seat in the Teams world, right? Whereas in the past, I did a lot, in my consultant days, did a lot of focus on SharePoint training for file collaboration. Now you don't really go that. It's really about, it's collaboration with files and Teams. I don't have to tell you the model of the transmission under the hood of the car, that happens to be the engine, but I really just want you to focus on hitting that files tab, opening that doc. For a lot of collaboration, you don't need SharePoint specific training to get a lot of stuff done. So that's a good thing for your typical user, because that training hurdle sometimes help hurt adoption.
Yeah, the most popular training we have people attending in my long deployed Teams customers is collaborating on files, and it really is just focused on like, how do we collaborate on content during the meeting experience. How does it work during chat, and how do we do it as part of a team? And everything we can do to keep a file from being attached to an email. Get all of that benefit, improve both the communication and the collaboration process.
Awesome. That's good stuff. I'll look at this last question in chat here. Benefits of sticking with SharePoint for files that do not need collaboration. My personal opinion on that is, this might be a longer topic, but in theory, you're putting files in SharePoint because you want to collaborate on them. If you just wanted to store them, there might be quote unquote cheaper places to put that file. So is there benefit to sticking with SharePoint for files that do not need collaboration? The biggest benefit I would see is from a search perspective. When they're going in SharePoint or the Office 365 ecosystem, OneDrive, or whatever, someone being able to search across the platform to find that file because SharePoint has indexed it would be one benefit. So even if nobody was ever going to actually modify it, the discovery of that because of SharePoint indexing the file would probably be one of the biggest benefits.
And I just threw in chat, like, having it in the team, it's in SharePoint, right? So it is, even if you're not planning on talking about it, just realize that concept of the team, where all of the things about the team, whether it is the communication or the content or the whatever, that's where all of that stuff is. So like, hey, where's the content for this project, this program, this initiative? Where are the communications for this project, program, initiative, or this group of people? Think org chart box. They're in the team. That's always the answer. You want to go find the stuff for this group, it's going to be in that team. And any files in a team are in the SharePoint site for that team.
And the other piece would just be sharing if that's so you're not going to collaborate on it, but you might want to share it, whether internally or externally. Then that's a nice secure place and to share that and to be able to manage the sharing of it. So as opposed to, let me take this archive document and email it to someone, let me take this archive document, give a share link to it, and maybe a week from now, I don't really want that share. I want to turn off that share link. I want to, modify this document under the covers, things like that would be another advantage there. So good stuff. Yeah, we'll look at talking about files maybe in a future session. This time, it's probably obvious that next week, is it next week? Next week, yeah. We likely will not. Yeah, I don't think we'll be having any session, right? That's the
Christmas edition,
right?
Yeah, it's Christmas Eve, and then the next one is New Year's Eve. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking
next year.
So yeah, it might be a 2-week hiatus for us here. Just like we did with Thanksgiving, maybe there'll be a special edition, pre-recorded. But yeah, I'm not gonna drag Stacy and Nash out of bed, and so.
Oh, that's okay. The kids take care of that for us, right?
Yeah.
My 3-year-old started playing piano at about 6 a.m. today. So
nice. So yeah, so consider us on a 2-week hiatus, but I would, if you might still want to check the page for a little gift, just like we did for Thanksgiving. Might be something there as well. But otherwise, happy holidays. Hope everybody can take time off and recharge, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.